This is a regular episode, and I'm being unhinged already. On the main feed, Ariel, on the main feed.
Spoiler alert, this was a wild fucking ride.
That's just gonna be my consistent commentary. She had hope, and then the hope went away.
If the next book is this much of a fever dream, I'm probably going to boycott or
Quit.
riot. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
How goes it, my love?
it it all goes.
And so it goes.
It all goes. And it goes on and on and on and on.
Life is just
Lifing.
existing.
Yeah.
It's,
Life and real good.
honestly, it could be worse. And I think that that's all I have to think about most days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, side note, your thingy says it's arriving on Thursday.
Oh, my thingy.
Your TV stand.
My thingy. The thingy sounded better.
Your thingy, Ariel. I ordered you a
Yeah.
thingy. You know,
Wouldn't
it's
be
so
the first
funny.
time that one of us has sent things.
That is true. I vividly remember my 18th birthday. I want everybody to know that my this is how deep our friendship goes. My very first vibrator was from Ariel.
Listen, it was a crime you didn't have one.
I was a very repressed and prude 18-year-old child, okay? Well, 18, I guess, is technically an adult, but listen, she corrupted me, and now I corrupt
So
her all the
now
time.
that, we have children, I do not feel like 18 is a full adult now.
Oh, fuck no.
Absolutely not.
Who thought me having a baby at
25 is
21 was a
barely
smart
like
idea?
25 is like, okay, you're an adult now.
Well, not
For
everybody.
some people.
So, um, yeah, it hailed yesterday apparently, and that was wild. I wasn't here for that, but it hailed and there were gigantic pieces of hail on the ground. Um, it rained today, so it's great because we went through a dry spell and now Florida has decided it's rain
Florida.
time. It's one hell of a drug.
For
Something.
those who followed my cake journey last year, it's that time of year again for me to humiliate myself and attempt to make another cake. So it's not going well.
I'm sure it's going. Don't let her lie to you.
No, it's almost fallen over at least 8 times. It's not going well.
It's
Somehow
better.
making the book seems far easier, and this is gonna look like trash compared, and it's gonna be like, oh, I don't understand how that was difficult. I don't either. I don't either. I'm not a baker, but I
I
can tell
think.
you that this cake tastes kind of like banana bread.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I think that anything is better than remembering that you burned refrigerator cookies and that you also
made soup out
collapsed
of
a
them.
giant cupcake. So I think that you have come a very long way from how you
Yes.
used to be. And I, for one, am very proud of you for that. Someone
You
has
know,
to be.
somebody has to be, you know. At least I have my cheerleader.
At least you have
Cheer-
me,
I
my love.
was going to sing that, but I'm not going to. Oh, okay. I had this little girl, probably, oh, probably like at least 8 years ago now. That was her favorite, like, brain break dance that we would do in class. And anytime it was her turn to pick, it was the, oh, should I? And it was that one dance with the Kids Bop dance, and like I knew all the moves to it and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
I
This is my
that's
life. Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Tomorrow I have to lead trash cleanup, so fun times.
ew.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I get to sleep in. Actually, I have a lot of things I should be doing tomorrow. I should write it all down on a list and like try to actually accomplish some things instead of saying it verbally and then actually not doing them.
I mean, it would probably be helpful.
It would be a little helpful, sometimes. Sometimes.
Sometimes. You know what would also be
Sometimes
helpful?
I run. What?
Sometimes. Um, if I could hide right now, that would be helpful. No. I think it would be helpful to us if perhaps maybe in the future we weren't so ambitious with the amount of requests we put on one wheel.
So, the majority of our current wheel is requests. And we did this because, to be honest, they were starting to pile up because we take them and then we're like,
We
oh,
try
we'll
to
fit them
slot
in
them
when we
in.
can.
Yeah.
But then it started getting to a point where we, because we are delusional, we like to
Quite
still
Delulu.
pretend that there are two people who listen. So we're like, there can't be that many requests. As of today, by the way, there are over 6,000 people on Spotify, and there are over 600 people on YouTube. So it's not just two people. So can you imagine us getting requests?
It's just two people.
It's just two, it maybe three some days. So we decided instead of like sprinkling them, we're like, we might as well put a couple of them, especially since we typically try to have like theming, like we have categories and all that other shit. And we're like, oh, well, this will fit the category and it's a request, so we're just gonna throw it in there. So, yeah. Don't worry though, because I can't wait for you guys to understand how our next wheel is gonna go because we're chaos.
Chaos. Kind of, but fun
Chaos.
chaos. It's
Honestly, I'm so here for it. Love this for us.
like on
Love
that
this journey.
scale of like the neutral good and all that. We are like going to be in that far corner of the like the good chaos, but like,
I don't know. Maybe
I
some
don't
weeks are
know.
going to be bad chaos.
Yeah, possibly.
Who the fuck knows? But anyways, so this week I don't did it fall into the dark romance one? Is that why we grabbed? But
No,
anyway.
it was request.
Oh,
We took
oh,
all our requests and dumped those in, and then we tried to just
oh.
fill in the rest with what
See,
we had.
here's the thing, guys. I barely remember what we read until I look at the schedule and then I realize okay, that's the book we're reading. Or if I'm feeling extra spicy, I will just look at Ariel's Goodreads and be like, okay, she's reading that book. That is the one we need to read. I need you guys to understand the chaos that goes on in this brain on my side because I can't ever keep my shit together. The worst, though, is I think when Ariel and I both forget what book we're supposed to be reading. And
Yeah.
honestly, really and truly at that point, the only way to figure it out is to listen to our preview, edit the episode, and figure out what the wheel said.
So that's why I end up just when we do the
He puts,
wheel, I download the book. I'm like, nope, instant.
and honestly, Ariel makes our schedule, our recording schedule. And so sometimes I will panic and be like, Ariel, there's nothing scheduled for today. Are we supposed to be doing something? Because she's the one
I'm a hot
holding this
mess.
whole ship together right now
Which
with a hope and a
is a
prayer.
problem.
First, she's pretending to be the mom right now of the group. And oh, you know what?
Pretending
Actually,
is the
listen, this fits our dynamic perfectly because, hold on, let me strip down for a second. Because if you think of it, and I'm going to offend so many people, and I really don't care. You're the mom and you're holding this ship together, and I'm the dad and I'm just floating through life right now.
Floating through life. I know that's not the right words, but that's how it worked for me.
But if you think about it, our dynamic fits perfectly. I
I
just
don't
sit back
care
and let you
for
do
the.
all the work. Make me a sandwich.
That is not true. Crystal does a lot of work.
Go make me a sandwich. Why aren't you in the kitchen?
If Crystal was here, though, I would make her a sandwich.
I know. Instead, I'm here eating a Milky Way.
That's why she needs me. Though that looks really good.
It's the Midnight Milky
That's
Way.
why
It's
I
the
said that,
only good
because
one.
yeah, I
But
agree.
it's a king size, and I would share it with you.
Ooh, yeah.
Because they didn't have just the regular self-serving size for some fucking reason. Tell me why all the gas stations only have like
You want my
90% of their candy is the king size. I don't want that.
It happens all the time. It's so that you have to
I
spend
don't
more money.
understand
Yeah.
because it didn't used to be that way.
Mm. Let me live. Let me live my
let me just
life.
have a one. I don't need that much sugar. And honestly, I might have to put it in the fridge because it's a little melty. Good thing I have a fridge in my room
Nice.
right next to my desk.
Nice.
I never have to leave again. Oh,
I
I don't know
love
why I
that.
did. And currently, it has a bottle of soju in there and a bunch of bottles of hydration water, which I guess would make it's a good combo, alcohol and water. And
Right.
then now it has a candy bar.
All you need in life, apparently. Well, all Crystal needs in life.
And a good vibrator. And you know what? I've got two of those.
You know? Oh yeah, how did your new package come?
You know what? Well, it came. Um,
Solid. Mm.
I think that it's good. It's just it's different. It's a different
Yeah, it's a different
I
feel.
just
Yeah.
laughed in my head. I said it's a different vibe, but it literally is. It's different than what like I usually use. So like it's still fabuloso. Love that. But it's just I have to I guess I'm gonna use it on a different if I'm in one specific mood, I'll use that one. And if I'm in a different mood, I'll use the other one. And I think
Isn't
that
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 true
works
about
well for
all
me.
of them though?
Honestly, I've only had one for years. Not the same one.
Eh,
I've rotated. Once the one dies for good, I have to get a new
Gotcha.
one. And so I usually just have one. And but then again, you have to also understand everybody. Um, I think I have had sex more frequently than Ariel has in the last like 15 years. Um, so I haven't really, at the time, I didn't need one for a while because if
One
anybody knows,
always needs a good.
if a lot of people don't know this, but they probably do, I used to have like a roster of men, like one for every day of the week. So I really didn't need one. But now I do need them. So now when the mood hits, I got a different one. And now I should just like continue getting more. So if there's any sex toy companies out there that want to like sponsor us, I will review it. And this is a regular episode, and I'm being unhinged already on the main feed, Ariel, on the main feed.
Anyways,
Let's get this let's get this train back on its own track, maybe.
yeah. So if you made it through all of that, congratulations. You are a winner.
Well,
And
it
you
depends on how
truly
much we edited it.
deserve to be here. What do you win? Well, a fucked up episode is what you win because just to spoiler alert, this was a wild fucking ride. And I think this is the second week in a row, whether that was a special or not, I don't even know, can't keep track. But I'm pretty sure this is the second week in a row that I have said, what the fucking fever dream. So
Yes, because we had our
a special that we just read.
we literally just had a special, and that was a fever dream. And so,
They
yes,
all
this will
blend
be
together. But
the
apparently it's
secondary
fever
fever
dream
dream.
week. So buckle the fuck up because fever dream, here we
Buckle up,
come.
bitch.
This
I'm
week
sorry, you guys aren't bitches. I'm so sorry.
I am. This week, yes, we read a request and we read Kill Song by Heather Long and Blake Blessing. Yeah. It is the first book
Was it
in
a
what
blessing?
is it is the first book in what is supposed to be a series. Did we know that 100%? Kind of when we read the blurb, not when we put it on the wheel because it was a request. Should we have taken it more seriously? Probably, but we were just
We
going
wouldn't
with the
be us.
request flow. Yeah. So it just adds to the fever dream. What the fuck's going on? So buckle the
You
fuck
know,
up.
it's just, it's so interesting because this was a wild first episode of Pride Month. And we're supposed to be having a great Pride Month. And this would have fit in perfectly. So I guess it's just unhinged Pride Month because our first special of the month was unhinged. It's a fever dream month.
Dear goodness, hopefully the whole month is not as fever dream.
And if so, we apologize in advance because that is not our
If the next book is this much of a fever dream, I'm probably going to boycott or
quit.
riot. Yeah,
She quits the podcast, guys.
I
It's been a good
something.
3 years.
So,
Let us begin. Where do we begin is the real
well,
question.
we start with a strange and a little terrifying prologue in the point of view of a little girl named Vienna, who basically knows that her father tortures and kills people in his basement. But she thinks of them as monsters and that he takes care of them. I mean, interesting but wild.
And honestly, this is where we had hope.
I did. I'm not going to lie. Was it weird? Was it wild? Yes. But was it intriguing? Also,
Yeah.
yes.
I was like,
I
okay,
had hope. I was here. I
I got
was in
this.
the room. I was
And then they
here.
lost me.
Yeah. Not very long after.
Literally next chapter.
Yeah. The book officially starts and we meet Merrick. And shit just keeps getting weird. Instead of normal, where a book should start, things just keep getting weirder. Merrick is getting out of a therapy program that he has been in for a while. He actually decided to stay longer than necessary because he didn't want to leave. He's there because he gets too emotionally attached to people way too easily. I didn't know that's something that you could go to an intensive, like, inpatient rehab for, but apparently he's been
I
many
wish I
times.
had known that. And if that was a thing, I know many people who need to go.
Like he self like put himself in there. Yeah.
Honestly, at least he is self-aware.
Yeah. But it is his
But I
time
do
to
think that God
leave.
gave him a lobotomy, so I don't know.
He's overstayed his welcome and he just leaves with his duffel bag. And as he's walking, he sees a woman and a man in an alley. The man is picking the woman up by her throat. And Merrick has this like little pep talk with himself that, he needs to be a good citizen and actually help. So he does, but it's kind of wild when we don't actually have any information about Merrick or anything at all because he just goes up to the guy and stops him and starts going at him. The guy starts punching back, but Merrick doesn't stop. He just snaps and attacks and goes until the random dude is bludgeoned and dead. That's how we start this book. And the woman is just standing there, kind of like, what the fuck? But instead of like, oh, you saved me, she's just like irritated. And Merrick just thinks that she's in shock or something. And the woman tries to walk away and leave because she's like, I don't want anything to do with this, motherfucker. And he's like, oh no, let me make sure that you get home safely. What? And he just follows her. They just leave the body there. And as they're walking, she points out that he's covered in blood and he stops to change because, he's got his duffel bag. And it's just weird. It just keeps getting weirder. The whole thing is just wild.
I thought, didn't she have him like turn his pants like inside out or something?
No, she had him put his clothes in a bag
Oh, gotcha,
and
gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha.
And it was just, it was all,
I
the
think I
whole thing
just
was weird.
blacked out.
Maybe you're right. Who the fuck
Was
knows?
I drunk?
It
Do I
felt,
need to be drunk for this?
the whole thing felt fever dreaming. Like, because he's just following her home. And they get to her car, and we learn that he doesn't have a car because he gave it to some neighbor. And he doesn't have a place to live because he sold it before he went into therapy. So where the fuck was he going? What was he doing? He doesn't really seem to have any good answers for her or her questions or for us. So,
And he doesn't have parents because they're dead.
yeah. And she's just like, I
Like,
guess
what the
they're
fuck?
she's just like, she guesses they're going to her house. Like, bro.
Absolutely not.
And he's just like a puppy following her. Like, did he have a fucking lobotomy at
That's
this fucking center? And he just like, oh, person. Oh, I need
I
to follow
just
her. Like, I it my brain, I just can't.
they always call these
It
kinds of
doesn't
people
work.
like golden retriever people, but honestly, I
No,
feel here's the thing, he's
this,
take a golden retriever boyfriend and take out his brain.
yeah, yeah.
Honestly, just turn a dog immediately into a human. And actually, no, because you know what? I told
Dogs are
Ariel,
smarter.
this is Hot Frosty.
I can't do that again. So
That's
this
the man we're
woman
dealing with.
says that she has rules first. And he explains he likes rules. I like rules. Thus, the program that he was in. I want to point out that the dialogue thus far is fucking brutal. Fucking brutal. It goes on and repetitive, and it's just fucking brutal. And spoiler alert, it doesn't get any better.
Spoiler alert, Crystal definitely skimmed a lot. This book was
This
really
is my
long.
surprised face.
This book was not actually even that long. It was just long in that it felt long.
Yeah. Vienna, yes. The woman basically
Vienna
outlines,
sausages? Sorry.
no, like from the beginning, basically outlines that they have Fight Club rules. No telling anyone about her, no talking to anyone, and listening to her above all else. Vienna also tells him that he is not to do what he did before ever again. And he says, save her? And she says, no, he can't do that.
Like, no,
Vienna
you dumb beat the dude to shit. What the
tells
fuck?
him that she was never in any danger, that she was just basically making the guy think he had the upper hand before she killed him. No, she was basically saying, like, you can't intervene on my kills,
I
kind
know,
of
I
thing.
know,
Yeah.
I know. But
But
like
yeah.
my brain went,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
save you? No, you dumbass. Fuck.
I tell you, it it's fucking wild. Like, he grabs her hand and apologizes, and it's just wild. He basically tells her that he wants to spar with her to make sure that she's well equipped and not in danger in other situations. And she fucking laughs at him. I'm not going to lie. If I was reading this on my own, I probably would have DNF'd with the dialogue alone, but definitely at this point.
Yeah.
Just saying. Um, Also, why are these two even talking anymore? Like, period. But Vienna brings Merrick home.
Dick.
She brings the puppy home. Well, from what we can tell, one of her homes. She shows him to a bedroom and they get cleaned up and changed. And she's like talking to herself and basically says to her father in her mind that the dude followed her home. She might have to keep him like a puppy. You just don't pick up humans from the side of the fucking road and bring them back to your house and keep them forever. Like, that's not a thing. Apparently it is for her, as we're going to learn throughout this, that she does this multiple times. She's already like going through mental checklists, figuring out things he's going to need and all this stuff and new identities and stuff. And it's just wild. They're both just going along with this, which, yeah. She asks for his sizes to get him more clothes, and he just gives them to her. Like, they're just doing this now. And he doesn't, okay, like, sure. I found this woman on the side of the road and now I'm going to make her buy me clothes and live with her.
I just,
Lobotomy. She's very
yeah.
careful to wipe up all their presents in the home as things happen. Like if they go to the kitchen, before they leave the kitchen, she wipes things up and etc. because you never know when that's going to need to be necessary. They chill out a bit, watch some TV, and then go to bed. And then we get a point of view, which honestly, up until now, I had forgotten that we were going to get multiple people in this book. I was just so focused on the puppy situation. So maybe I had a little glimmer of hope for a second that that might help with the
And then
situation.
that was hope was dashed. That's just going to be my consistent commentary. She had hope, and then the hope went away.
We meet Morgan Cash. Cash works for the FBI and he has been trying to solve a series of murders and now has been assigned to the Alley murder. You know, the one, you know, that just happened. And
Shock. Ah.
he believes that this murder is connected to a known serial killer that he has been trying to find. This might be his break. This is a little deviation from the typical MO, and it might just help him catch who he's been looking for. There's a bar next to the alley, and it had a camera. And Cash is ecstatic to finally confirm his suspicions and be able to see even a glimpse of who he's looking for because they've been so meticulous and evading. And Cash does see the victim leave out the back door, but with a small, obscured woman because the camera is
Because
shit.
apparently women can't be serial killers.
And he is
Sorry.
shocked, but also elated to see that the person he's been chasing the whole time might actually be, in fact, a woman. And he's more intrigued. And he tells the manager that showed him the footage to send him the video, and then he wipes the the computer and has the man wipe the video. Merrick is still a weird little puppy, and Vienna tells him a couple days later that she made it clear that she's going to keep him. And apparently they're just together now. She tells him that she needs to go out of the house without him. She has a couple meetings and he is distraught. He needs to be with her. He needs to look after her. He needs to protect her. Good fucking Lord.
I
She's
think
like,
he needs to go
no.
back.
Yeah, to the mental place. Yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
no, he needs to stay there. It's not that kind of meeting. If he goes, he could be bye. Like, good Lord, he just can't go. This is part of the agreement. She tells him to do something, he needs to listen. She says she'll show him her gym and that she'll do a few sparring sessions with him before she goes. And they spar, and Merrick realizes that she's much better than he gave her credit for. No fooling. Vienna heads out to her appointments.
Welcome to the Sassy Podcast.
The first one being getting Merrick a new identity, in addition to speaking with the man about other things. I guess they had a lapse in their security web somewhere, and she's trying to figure out. We don't have a lot of information at this point, but that's what we know. I'm going to tell you right now that her father died a year ago, and she's been trying to track down his killer, and she thinks that there was a leak in their system of like associates, and that's why her father got taken out, and she's been trying to track it down. She goes to see a man named Dion, but finds him interrogating another man at his house named Fletcher, and decides to take over the scene for herself. And with her gun, she tells the men whoever's honest with her will live. And Fletcher starts singing like a canary, saying why Dion has him tied up. And the next thing,
Her notes are just slightly more organized than the book. But if anything this book has taught me is that the woman is probably the only person who has any form of a brain in this entire book. And all of the men, you know what though?
possibly the FBI agent, but we haven't gotten a huge look at him.
Yeah. Honestly though, like it kind of gives real life.
Yeah. They're like literal simps for like real life.
Yeah.
Weird, gross.
This was definitely not written by a man.
Which is funny because I actually asked that later on because it felt like
I
it.
just meant by how
It
dumb all of the men are, because honestly,
it felt like a man was trying to portray themselves in a positive light of like, oh, look at,
well, they did a shit ass job.
yeah. Fletcher is singing like a canary, saying why Dion has him tied up, and Dion is panicky about his answers and is pissed because Fletcher's been taking clients from him. But he basically, by behaving all like this, is confirming Vienna's suspicions about why she came. And she ends up shooting his knees and then gives him one more chance and asks who Red Death is. And he panics, saying he can't tell her. And that confirms even more. And she shoots Dion. Vienna collects Dion's hard drives and unlocks Fletcher's cuffs. And Fletcher asks, what now? She's confused, but he says he can help. What's the plan? And she's basically like, fuck her life. Like a goddamn another puppy. What is this? Just her fucking week for collecting strays? Like, what is this shit?
Sorry, I had the fuck your life sound bit from TikTok stuck in my head there for a second.
And she says, let's go. And that she wiped the security footage already and they get in her car. And she tells him to give her an address of where to drop him. He says that Dion did one kind of job, so he can assume why she was there and why she was a client of his. If she needs help with papers, he can do it. He's better and he can help her. And he tells her
Where
where
can
to
I
drop
drop
him.
you? Into my dick, into my heart. Sorry.
She gives him a first aid kit and a burner phone and tells him to call her and they'll talk business. She drops him off and he makes the walk to his place, realizing he should probably move. Yeah. Merrick really is a lost puppy, and I feel like I say this every time we go back to his point of view, but it is just so true. And it's kind of disgusting. And both Vienna and myself, we wonder how he's even survived before her, like how he was even alive.
Honestly, okay, here's my theory is I think that a lot about a lot of stupid people, and then I realize that I think that they're just too stupid and stubborn to die. Like
Yeah.
it's the universe does weird because I've seen that where I'm like, how are you still alive?
Huh.
And they're just so dumb.
Yeah.
I've met so many men like that. I'm like, how do you exist? Sorry. I don't
Vienna,
actively hate all men, I promise. I just hate a lot of them.
Vienna spends days mostly ignoring Fletcher's calls, making it clear to him that until he agrees to her terms, she has no need to speak to him. Someone who she calls her uncle calls her. He usually calls about once a month, but he calls early this time. He's not truly her uncle, but he was the only person that her father truly trusted, and he calls to let her know about Dion and that he was compromised and that she was right and that there is a problem with their system and that she should assume anything Dion made for her is burned until they figure things out. She's already way ahead of him, obviously, and she's got it. One evening in the middle of the night, she sneaks down to her basement through a secret door, and we find out that she is a prisoner down there and has for quite a while. It's a man named Dr. Anton Salinas, and he's basically been down there to rot until he confesses his sins. He's not ready at the moment, so she says hopefully he'll be ready to talk when she comes back. I I don't know where he fit in still, but there. Her puppy dog
Well,
noticed, yeah. Her
just kidding.
puppy dog noticed that she was gone because he heard her door and then searched the whole house for her and couldn't find her and panicked. So when he found her, he basically is now losing his mind. Seriously, this is fucking wild. He just needs to hold her. So she lets him and tells him he's safe and that it's okay. He can sleep in her room if it makes him feel better. He's over the moon at this, and she kisses him. Fucking fever dream.
Yeah.
Is this book written by a man? It kind of reads like it's written by a man, at least the way Merrick is portrayed in his point of view. It's fucking wild. As if like he needs to be like propped up and has this validation of like, look at how awesome I am and look at how I treat you and I'm just like, bro.
Were we in the
Like,
right mental headspace for this?
I don't know.
Do you think I would have enjoyed this book like a year ago?
I think a year ago, if you had read the prologue, you would have DNF'd.
Maybe like a year and a half ago, I would have DNF'd it. We've been doing this long enough at this point.
That's true.
Honestly,
I
though,
don't know.
to be so, well, I'll save my opinion for
I
the end.
I don't want to say I wasn't in the right because I had this on my TBR. Like, I want to be upfront and honest
Mhm.
about that. I had this on my TBR. Was it on the back burner? Yeah. But this was not a book that I was just like, ugh, I don't want to read this. I genuinely like had an interest in this book. I was just disappointed.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue this fever dream as Vienna asks if he needs help to get to sleep. This is the written by a man thing. That's why I'm. And then she jacks Merrick off. And then they go to bed. In the morning, Vienna tells him that he's going to accompany her on an errand, and they get dressed, and she brings him to a building and tells Merrick that he's now Rick. Well, not in so many words, but that's what she gets the point across.
Nuts.
But for real, she just looks at him and goes,
I
Rick, and
know.
he gets it.
I just. Oh, fuck. Okay.
They get onto the elevator, and she just talks to the elevator and tells Fletcher to bring her to the right place. And they get out on the 27th floor, and Fletcher is there with a table set for lunch, and he's surprised to see Merrick there. I think he thought this was going to be some kind of date because, again, she just attracts these fucking puppies. Like, does she smell like, I don't, maybe it was not written by a man. Maybe it is written by a woman because is she like, does she have the most attractive smell on the planet? Is like nobody able to resist her?
I don't know.
How has she been near men before? If now the next two men that we have seen her just can't help but like gravitate.
I, I, I was gonna say something and I can't do it. I've been reading too many alpha, omega, beta verse stuff. And like, does she have a good scent? Is that
It's kind of where I
is
was
she
going. Like,
is
does she
she
have
an
like this
omega
irresistible
like
perfume or something?
attaching to some alpha scents here?
Maybe. But these are
Man,
not alphas.
I'm well aware. They're not. Maybe she's the alpha
Maybe.
and they're the omega.
Yeah, so he's surprised to see
Need
Merrick
to
there,
stop.
and Merrick asks if he can kill him. And Fletcher realizes after a minute that Merrick is serious, and he's like, fuck. Vienna tells Fletcher that Merrick's practically harmless unless someone tries to fuck with her.
Practically.
Yeah. And I just want to point out that Fletcher calls it like it is and calls him her dog
He's not
because,
wrong.
right. She lays out paperwork and tells Fletcher she needs a full identity package for her friend and that his past needs to be erased. And at first, Merrick is like, what the fuck? But then he looks at Vienna with heart eyes and decides that he'll do anything for her. What the fuck? You've known her less than a week and now you're going to erase your whole life.
Yeah.
The men have a little pissing contest and then they eat and agree on terms and get to work. They leave, telling Fletcher to await her call for another trial or some shit. And at some point, Vienna gets word that someone her father and her had on their radar as a target for a while now resurfaced. And she leaps at the chance, not wanting to miss the opportunity. She brings Merrick along for this one, and they orchestrate a public allergic reaction for some high profile lady. And then they fuck in the limo on the way back. The scene is kind of weird with very odd word usage, and I wasn't a fan. Like, it started out with her saying basically, like, I want to fuck you and I want you to fuck me. Like, that was an actual sentence. And I was like, what? Why would you say it like that? Why would that be all in one sentence like that? I'm so confused.
For shits and gigs,
It just goes back to the dialogue thing, I think. Just all the
probably.
dialogue. So, our FBI agent Cash is very puzzled over his new events that are happening. He has been searching for this serial killer who has been dubbed the Judge for a very long time, so long that his father was the one initially searching for him. And this woman, who looks 25 at most, is not even old enough to have been doing the crimes that started the initial killings. So is she just some kind of connection? Is she an accomplice? Is she a weak link that they can use to find the actual Judge killer? Cash has taken up the mantle for his father, and he feels like this is something, especially since the alley killing is so different. He wouldn't even thought they were connected if he didn't know that the victim was connected to other victims of the Judge. He gets called in with a tip to go to a recently discovered homicide that might also be a connection to these cases. And looky there, it's Dion. Vienna and Merrick had taken the limo back to a hotel that evening and slept with each other some more, and in the morning disinfected the hotel of their presence, of course, and then put on disguises, wigs and all. They walked to a nearby parking garage and found a sedan that Vienna had waiting for them, put their luggage in the car, and got in. Vienna loves that Merrick basically asks no questions because dogs don't really talk. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Vienna tells Merrick, much to his unhappiness, that it's time for Fletcher's next test. They change cars again and change clothes again, and they add a beard to Merrick's wig. Vienna,
I yeah.
I think it was the allure of trying to look like she was a smart, like serial killer lady, but it was like very over the
She
top and kind of
slowly just
ridiculous.
started losing her credibility of how
Yeah,
the fuck did she make it this
it
far?
basically, instead of making her look cool and like an actual like awesome serial killer, it made her look like she was playing pretend at the asylum and that they were just still at the asylum and they didn't know they were still there and they didn't know they weren't in the real world. And this is all
Mhm.
going on in their mind. That's what this book. Maybe that is the book. Maybe by the end we'll realize they were still in the asylum the whole time.
That would be such a great twist,
I
but I
could buy
really
that.
don't. I
That's the only way I could buy that.
really don't think that that's going to happen, my love.
But if we never read the rest, we could pretend.
That is the story we have made up in our head. Remember how we kept saying like some days we'll write stories? So that is our truth.
When we get to the end of this, we're going to create our own ending for those that don't want to continue. For those that
Sounds
do,
great.
they don't need to listen to our ending. But
Yeah.
we did that one time, I think.
We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
We are a hot mess.
Yeah. Every day, every day.
So Vienna has Fletcher hack into, that woman from the other night that they offed her email and expose her
Yeah.
for the child trafficker that she was, and then tells Fletcher to await her next call. And when she does call Fletcher for the next job, she tells him she needs him to come to her location. And Fletcher says about that. What he needs as payment for this one is going to be a little weird because he needs to lay low for a few days while he changes locations. He's got a family issue, and apparently, this woman is definitely just collecting puppies. And she gives him the address and directions, and he's on his way to now also live at her house. If you thought this was weird and it wasn't going to get any weirder, so sorry. But your luck. Vienna tells Merrick to prepare a room for Fletcher, and she goes down to check on dear Dr. Salinas. Unfortunately, Dr. Salinas is not the lead to finding her father's killer that she thought he was, but he is a really bad dude that her father was investigating. Apparently, he tags girls like animals, and does all kinds of shady shit. And he does not deserve to live. So she lets him suffer even longer. Vienna gets a call for work and has to take it, so she has Merrick wait for Fletcher and help him move his car to the right place. And Fletcher gets there with his car full of fucking boxes and shit. Merrick helps him bring the stuff in begrudgingly and explains to Fletcher how he has to wipe his presence from things after he's in a room. And Fletcher is like, what the fuck? Holy Twilight Zone. What did I just land myself into? And yes, sir, we're all wondering that. Vienna comes in and tells Fletcher he's got a day, 2 max to settle in, and then he needs to let her know what's going on with him. She's got to go out and do a job real quick, and Merrick is in charge. Merrick gets Fletcher drunk because, he's a little jealous and he just kind of thinks he can question this dude. So when Vienna comes home, Fletcher's a bumbling mess. She's not exactly pleased, but gets the drunk man in bed and gets some water and some aspirin, and her and Merrick go to their room to go to bed. The next day, she has Fletcher set up his equipment in the office and gives him the hard drives from Dion's house and tells him she wants him to search for any mention of Thackeray or Vienna Drew. And he realizes that that's her real name, Vienna, because he's been calling her Drew the whole time because that's what Dion called her. But that's technically her name too. And he's so mad and jealous because when he created a new identity for Merrick, it's Rick Drew. And he's like, oh, now he has her name. Like, these people need to take a fucking chill pill. The asylum is rampant today. These poor nurses that have to deal with these guys. But I also want to point out that she never makes good on her threat, and he never has to tell her what's going on with him.
Plot hole number, I don't know, 1. I'm just kidding.
6,500. 6,000. 6,000.
You think in the 500?
500, yeah. My brain is
Rent,
broken
guys.
today.
Rent.
There you go. Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah.
It's also like 6 p.m. and Ariel
toasted.
Is toasted, even though she didn't work today, but still. She did
I
other
did a
things.
lot of things
She
today.
worked in the house. She did her household wife duties, okay?
I was a Merrick today. No. To help with Merrick's jealousy, Vienna shows him her work computer and shows him how to access her research and list of potential suspects and eventual suspects, and shows him how to do some of the behind the scene work so he can be helpful and have something to do while she's out doing the things she needs to do. Merrick is making dinner when Fletcher comes in and is obviously looking to get back at him for the other night getting him drunk, and is pretty blatant in his commentary, asking what he actually does for Vienna, because it seems like he's just a glorified house husband. He knows what his own role is to her. He does something useful, something she needs. What exactly does Merrick do? Merrick punches him. That's what he does.
That's rational.
Vienna comes in like, what the fuck? And Fletcher admits that he was provoking. Vienna says they both need to refrain from provoking each other. Agent Cash got the results from the other blood sample that was at Dion's place, and it is a match for one Fletcher Reed. He only knows that much because he was right there at the time of it being found and the results coming in, because the Reed family tends to clean up these messes rather quickly, and he assumes that if he checks back in a week or so, there will be no trace. Cash checks out Fletcher's place and finds it trashed. Vienna, but he finds it trashed. He also finds this weird key there, but we don't know where that goes yet. So Vienna ends up finally putting the doctor, that was in the basement, out of his misery, and poisons him and takes care of him. And Fletcher calls while she's finishing that up and says that he has found his way onto Dion's servers. Back at the house, Fletcher shows them the files that Dion had on both her and her father, and a file of known killers in the area and how he had color tagged them, including one called Red Death, the one she was asking about in the beginning there. There's a phone number and an IP address attached to him. Fletcher says there's still a lot more he has to go through. This is just the tip of the iceberg. He is able to locate the location of a storage unit in one of the photos in her father's file, and they make plans to go there the next day. They still have a lot of information to sift through, but they can't do it on no sleep, and so they go to bed. The next day, Merrick is disappointed that Vienna is taking Fletcher with her to the storage unit, but she needs him there with his computer just in case she needs that kind of work, and she needs Merrick to stay behind so he can keep tracking down leads on his end. At the storage unit, all they find are 3 boxes with files of photos filled with people that they've worked with before, and also all kinds of weird photos that ends up having Vienna just go through them over and over. And Fletcher starts to kiss Vienna, which is weird and seems totally out of place, but apparently he did it to snap her out of the spiral the photo dump was creating. I I was like, where the fuck did this come from? And they end up taking the boxes with them. Vienna says she's intent on speaking to someone to find out more information, but she doesn't say who. She heads to another location and tells Fletcher to wait in the car. But after an hour, she's still not back, and another car pulls up and a man heads inside. Fletcher panics and heads inside too, thinking he needs to help her. He can't have her be caught off guard by this other dude. When he gets inside, he sees Vienna in the middle of a room covered in blood with a dead guy at her feet. And then sees who I'm assuming is Cash approaching her, clapping his hands, saying that he was right. And that's how the book ends. That's how this book ends. That's not necessarily how we are going to let it end, because in our version of the book, the clapping is so loud that it wakes them up, because the clapping was actually the assistants at the asylum trying to get their attention to wake them up because it's dinner time.
Because it is a shared delusion. See?
Yeah.
Nailed it. Congratulations. I feel like I belong in a mental institution.
After reading that,
So,
absolutely.
you know, mm, so
I am a little confused though, because I feel like the ratings are fairly high on this.
yeah.
And I would like to try to figure out what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I don't either.
Well, before we get into ratings, who was your favorite character?
Um, I have no idea. I have to think
Not a
this.
single person. Not a single thing. Who was your least favorite character?
Probably the person who let Merrick out of the asylum,
Yes.
that started this whole trajectory.
Honestly, what really started this whole trajectory is her dad.
Yeah. That necessarily wasn't that bad in theory. In all, he only went after rapists, and like he tried
He
to
only killed
rid the
people. It's fine,
world.
guys.
He tried to rid the world to make the world a safer place for women. Like that was
He's kind of
his
like
goal.
he's kind of like a
Like
Dexter-ish
that was his
character.
goal.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about that. Like I said, the beginning was fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
Should he have involved a child? No, but the beginning was fine for me.
Okay.
I
Yeah. Asylum people. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Come
My
on.
favorite character,
Sometimes we don't have one.
we always have to pick something. We usually do. Um,
The cameras. I don't know.
At this moment, I'm going to say Cash
Okay.
because through all the obstacles against him, he was still trying to investigate this.
Okay, I will agree with you there. Cool. So, Amazon gives us a 4.4 and Goodreads a 4.2. What do you give it, Ariel?
I have no idea. Hold on. I need to. Oh, I also want to point out. Oh, maybe I take maybe I take it back about Cash because he said this one comment at some point when he was in Fletcher's house that Fletcher must be gay because he had a fancy bed.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that.
It was gross. And I was like,
Yeah,
shame on the author people for that because why can't any man have taste or be stylish or have good things?
I don't know. I'm gonna give this a 2, and I'm gonna agree with this review that I have read, which is they said they love reverse harem slash menage. Their favorite genre is serial killers, all the dark and twisted. What they don't like is adding people into a relationship without a conversation.
Yep.
So I agree with that. And then
Mm-hmm.
just like it did feel fever dreamy. I don't know.
The dialogue alone was like,
Yeah.
ugh.
So I'm gonna go with a 2.
I don't even know if a two is
It
low
sucks
enough
because
for me.
the first chapter gave me so much hope, and I thought that this was
Yeah,
gonna be pretty good. And then it just, as soon as Merrick was introduced and the way I couldn't with him
I
after
was
this. And
out. Yeah.
honestly, Ariel and I had discussed this too, and if it hadn't been for the podcast itself, we probably each individually would have DNF'd this book.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
actually, if I originally a year and a half ago, if I'd read this description, I wouldn't have even read it. But obviously, like I'm trying, I'm doing new things, I'm reading all these other like genres and all this other stuff. But eh, yeah,
I'm gonna give it a
it was just
1.5.
holy shit balls. Okay,
The dialogue killed
yeah,
me. The lack of conversation with a relationship, the stereotypical grossness in many spots. It was just, it had so much potential and it was ruined by ick.
yeah.
I'm sorry, but
Cool. That's okay. How about your spice rating?
crappy Poblano,
Okay. Samesies. A crappy public. It's like a sad, like the very final one
a limp Poblano,
right before they bring in the new stock of
a
Poblano.
Poblano that someone has, yeah, talked to
So
too
many
much and
people
not
have
in
touched.
a nice way. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
got it. Solid survivability. I wouldn't have been in this position in the first place.
But if I was, I probably wouldn't survive because I would get rid of myself if I had to be in the asylum with these people.
Honestly, the minute Merrick entered the picture, I would have probably unalived him.
That's true. So maybe I would have survived because I would have been like, goodbye.
Yeah, but if not, probably samesies. I would be
Yeah,
fine until I was no longer on this earth. Got
yeah,
it. So that was that was something, guys. So we're gonna figure out what we're reading next.
yeah. So I
And
just to point out, if you did not like our ending and you do want to continue this, the next book is called First Chorus, and it is basically
yes,
introducing Cash into their situation.
gotcha.
So probably less communication again.
Probably. So with that, let's spin the wheel and have actual communication.
That'd be nice.
Let's see what we're reading next. Are you ready?
Are you ready for it?
I wish I could use that song without getting hit with a copyright strike.
I know.
The Butcher by Penelope Sky. And I think this actually was me. Was it me or was it you? I feel like I brought this because it sounds very familiar. I brought it as I thought of Ariel when I picked it. That's what happened.
Gotcha. I knew it
Yeah.
was on my TBR, but I didn't bring it.
I brought it to the table because I thought of Ariel. So I'll read the description for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Butcher by Penelope Sky. I found out my husband of 3 years had cheated on me, and his mistress is the one who told me because he didn't have the balls to do it himself. I move out and get a new apartment, a job as a bartender, and try to move on with a broken heart. I wonder where it all went wrong. If I hadn't been enough for him, if I'd been stupid for marrying him in the first place. I'm at work one night when he walks inside, the most beautiful man I've ever seen. He sits at the bar, and a forest fire burns between us. I was depressed the moment before he entered, but the second I look at his blue eyes, I forget the dumpster fire that my life has become. Love that description. I invite him back to my place, and it's the most passionate night of my life. I expect to never see him again. I just want him as an antidepressant, but he wants me all to himself. I just got my heart ripped out of my chest, so I want something easy and no strings attached, but he wants all the strings because he's hooked. I don't get much of a say in the matter, and that's not surprising when I learn why. Because he's the butcher, the crime lord of all crime lords, the boss that overshadows all of Paris, that makes everyone abide by his rules or pay. And now I'm his.
I mean, if he is tatted all over like the cover, I mean,
Yes, please.
I'm not mad about it.
Neither am I. Such a good cover. So
Not mad
yeah,
about it.
join us next week. So hopefully next week's not a fever dream, and we're gonna dive into crime lords, and it's gonna be really fun, I think. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ariel's gonna have a grand old time.
Oh yeah. I wonder though,
Hmm?
it says it's a series. Is this another one of those ones that continues in the next
No,
one?
the second one's called The Carver.
I
I don't
know,
know. I don't know.
but
Maybe.
yeah,
I think it is, but that's
it
you know what? I
is.
think we
But we
discussed
will
this.
find out. We did
But
not
that's the thing
discuss
is
it, but
oh, I thought we did. I thought I said I think it's part of a series, and oh well.
oh well. At this point, the wheel. We will figure
This
it
is
out.
the year of us starting series and figuring out if we want to continue them.
The only problem is book 4 is not out yet.
Well, listen, when we were reading Entangled and all that
Yep.
other stuff, same difference. So
Yep.
anyways, please join us next week as we dive into this
Make sure to keep reading.
and keep it smutty.
List of potential suspects. Potential suspects. I'm going to say that word again because it sounded funny the first time. Says that he has found his way onto Dion's servers back at the house. Oh, finds his way onto Dion's servers. Onto Dion's servers. Good fucking Lord.
I wonder where it all went wrong. If I hadn't been enough for him. So anyways,
Yep.
please join us next week as we dive into this.
Yep. Check it out. Make sure to keep reading.
And keep it smutty. Ariel's fucking forgetting her. Jesus Christ. I just say that. Yep.
Yep. Yep. That's the new part. Yep.
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 Such an idiot.
Just yep. Oh fuck.
Oh, fuck.